Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Leah Martino, and I'm the Assistant Programming Manager of the Poetry Matters Project. And I have the pleasure of introducing poet and filmmaker Nicole Eiden. Her poem Mortgage from her debut collection, I Am One of You, placed third in the 2016 Women's National Book Association Writing Contest. She is also the creator of La Cuoca, which is the winner of the CINE Golden Eagle Award and Best Narrative Short at the Ozone Film Festival. So today I just have a couple of questions to introduce you and your work to the Poetry Matters community. So I'm just going to start. How did you begin your writing career?
Well, I guess I would say it's not my career, but just thinking of myself as a writer, I remember very clearly I was in second grade and there was always a story on the board, and we had this green paper that had lines that people my age used a lot, and it was taped onto computer printer paper that had the holes in the side, and you would draw a picture at the top and write a story, copy the story. But we had the option of doing your own story, and then we did this every morning, and I always just wrote my own story, and my schoolmate said, well, why do you do that? How do you do that? And I just remember thinking, why wouldn't I do that? And it wasn't like, it was just like, oh, it was the first time that I had thought, oh, this is the way I do it. And this is where I like to go. And of course, at second grade, I didn't think that meant I was a writer in that sense, but that stuck with me as a memorable moment. And I've thought about it a lot over my life. So I would have to say second grade. But in terms of, in a more formal sense, I always wrote poems growing up, but when I was an undergraduate at Ohio University, I just loved my poetry classes. And when I finished my first one, I signed up for the second, and then I started knocking on my professor's door, annoyingly, probably even when I wasn't taking his class. And he's still like a mentor to me for sure, Robert Kinsley. And I just really loved learning the craft and reading more and more. So I would say maybe when I was in college.
And on another note, what does your writing process today look like?
Well, I definitely write best in the morning, but I do own a pie company that I also have to get up really early, and I have an 8-year-old. So
busy.
Yeah, and like my best time isn't always available to me. So I kind of call it coming to the table. That's what I call my process. As much as I can, I just come to the table, whatever that means, whenever that is. And it's surprising what you can build in a short period of time, because your brain keeps working even when you're not actually at the table, but somehow by being there, it starts the process. So I grab time, and I love when I have time.
So are there any practices you use when you have that time, or is it just kind of what like flows in your brain?
That's a great question, because sometimes, I'm lucky enough to have something just come, but I do little things that I learned from my professors when I was young too. Sometimes I just open a dictionary and force myself to use 7 words. I do goofy things like that, and sometimes they just get me going. But in terms of something I always do, I often write notes in longhand at my desk, but also throughout the day, I do write notes in my phone. And sometimes they sound like gibberish, and then I'll come back and see something. So note-taking of thoughts. But anytime I think I know what I'm going to write about, that poem never works. It's like always discovery. So it's not like note-taking of a poem I'm going to write later. It's just a note about something in the moment, or a turn of phrase that comes to my mind that then I build from.
That's really cool. Talking about inspiration, what inspired you to write I Am One of You?
Well, the book, you mean?
Mhm.
General? That was a collection of many years, since it was my first book, and I hope I can say it's my first book. It's my only book right now, but those were accumulated through many years of just writing one poem, writing another, writing another, and collecting them in some level of organization. But in general, the cover is my grandmother's basketball team, and the themes in that book really are relationship, family, ancestry, the connections between that, and the title poem comes from a wedding. It's a long poem, and it's the last poem in the book, and it's a story of friendship throughout time connected with family, and those are the themes I keep returning to, really.
Mm.
So
That's so nice.
but really, just I can see when I look at them all the places where I've been or where I wrote them, and it's interesting to see what I'm working on now. I feel is very not different in the sense of unconnected or thematically different, but just I think I've uh, grown in terms of just the way I put words together.
Mm. And from some of the snippets I read on your website, I noticed that in I'm One of You, you toy with the idea of like home and the everyday. What does your home mean to you, and what makes New Orleans a home? That's a deep question. You could take time.
Well, the other day, I have a house with a husband and a dog and a cat and a kid,
Mhm.
and I'm always coming in seeing what needs to be clean, fixed, adjusted.
Mhm.
And I see sometimes his work. And my daughter said out of the blue, "Our home is just perfect. I love our couch. I'm just so comfortable there." And I was just like, I'm doing something right. I wonder if this is how my mom felt, even though I saw the home I grew up in as like a place where I was could be, you know. Obviously not everyone has that experience, but in terms of their nuclear family home, but it is something that my life was lived out in that home, and I try to create that now. And it's a place where we haven't been able to do this with COVID, right? But I love having people in my home. If you get to know me, then you're invited
Mhm.
in, and it's just like the last. It's just such a representation of me. But regarding New Orleans, I'm from Ohio, so I'm from the Midwest. I moved here in '99. And now sometimes I feel I'm like never of a place anymore, because I'm certainly being Midwestern, being from Ohio. I'll never be, a New Orleanian, even though some people, claim that you can be. I just don't 100% feel that way compared to my husband, who's a native, and even my daughter, who's born here. But I don't feel fully like an Ohioan either. So there's that perspective between places. Some ways I feel freer there, some ways I feel freer here in New Orleans.
Mhm.
Um, I guess that's an answer to more just about place, but I don't know. Home is just it's just a place where I think you and the place sort of blend together, and it's hard to see yourself without that place.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's, I suppose, for positive and negative, but it's you accept. Sometimes though, there's things I accept and things I want to change, about this place. But sometimes I also just feel like a guest here. Maybe that's by not being born and raised here. I feel like a guest in this wonderful place, and kind of, I guess, feel lucky because of that.
Yeah, I relate to that too, since I'm also not native to here. But
Hmm.
my final question is, do you feel like your voice has been influenced by New Orleans since living here?
Mm, definitely. I feel I'm surrounded by so many just people doing interesting things here.
Mhm.
And that really rubs off on me. I mean, there's just no, whether it's food or music or, photography or painting or being an awesome sociologist. I mean, everyone has such an interesting way of contributing here. And I don't see that everywhere. I know that's true. People are contributing in all parts of the world. I know they are, but here it's just so obvious how we all contribute. And I think that's a big part of it, just like feeling like I contribute. And that comes through, I think, in my work. I feel like an active part of the world.
That's so beautiful. Well, that's all I have for you today. So thank you so much for meeting with me. And everyone, make sure to check out your work at your website. I think it's Nicole M.K. Eiden.
It's actually a little shorter, NicoleEiden.com.
Cool. Well,
Thank you for inviting me and listening and asking such interesting questions. I appreciate that.
I had a great time. Hello, everyone. My name is Leah.
And my name is Annie.
And we work for the Poetry Matters Project. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check this poet out at the New Orleans Words and Music Festival this November 17th through 20th. This 20-year-old festival is a virtual feast that spans 5 days, featuring entertainment and workshops for writers and readers of all talents.
This year's keynote speaker, Clint Smith, will read from his New York Times best-selling novel, How the Word is Passed, and discuss with David Robinson Morris. For more information, visit the Words and Music Facebook page and check the Poetry Matters Project social media. We hope you have a happy and healthy day, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, guys.